Hello, my name is Gott, and this is a video for my lesson plan for FES 430, Forest as Classroom. My lesson plan is focused on animal habitats, specifically for the state of Maine. Since I've lived in the state of Maine for my entire life, I want to do something that I knew a little bit more about. And I also focused on the pre-operational stage of development, which is approximately ages 2 to 7, because I have 2 children who are actually in that age group, and we're planning on homeschooling. So my 2 boys are ages 4, which is William, and Ignatius, who is age 2.5. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to standing in front of a camera, which I'm trying to work on. So I decided I might as well just be my real self and show you what it's like to have 2 kids in the pre-operational stage, which is pretty much chaos. But it's actually important to know when you're dealing with a stage. My kids really like to pretend. They like to play with their toys and pretend to be superheroes and dress up and act out as animals. And so I really took that into account when I was developing this activity I'm going to be discussing. So the pre-operational stage is marked by a lot of pretend play and a lot of role playing. Children like a lot of hands-on activities during this stage. And towards the latter part of the stages, they do start to be able to differentiate between what is real and what is pretend. So when I was making my lesson plan, I took into account what my boys tended to like and what they like to do for activities. And I also took into account, as a homeschooling parent, what I'd be able to do and what I'd like to do with them. So I finally got the kids asleep, and I'm probably in the cleanest corner of my house at this point. And I want to go over some of the established goals and understandings for my lesson plan and for the activity I'm going to be describing. The established goals I obtained from the State of Maine Early Childhood Learning Results. And they're not the standards for the State of Maine, but they are some recommendations for early childhood educators. So these goals include that the child knows that animals live in different habitats on Earth. They know that plants and animals need food, sun, air, and water to survive. And they develop growing abilities to collect, describe, and record information through a variety of means, including observations, discussions, drawings, maps, and diagrams. And I took those and took them a little further using Bloom's taxonomy. So I only did the first 3 levels. On the knowledge level, the student should be able to list 3 animal species that make their homes in the forest, and they should be able to describe what type of home these animals live in. On the comprehension level, they should be able to identify 3 animal species that live in the forest from either videos, pictures, or personal sightings, and they should be able to explain what animals need to make a home in the forest, which is food, water, cover, and materials. And the last comprehension level is describe through discussion, writing, or drawing 2 to 3 characteristics of a chosen species from the forest. Then the third level, application, is demonstrate the behavior of one species of forest animal through role play. And these may seem really simple for an adult, and even for any child over the age of 6 or 7, these may be a little easier. But I was really thinking about the age range I was shooting for, which is the pre-operational stage, ages 2 to 7, and keeping it simple enough that a teacher could adapt it for the age group for children. If you're dealing with a preschool classroom of 2 to 4-year-olds, then you're going to need to make sure this is very simple. The characteristics that children may describe about an animal may be something just as simple as their color, how many legs they walk on, and what they eat. So by the end of my lesson, students should be able to know 2 to 3 species of animals that live in the Maine forest and how to identify these species. They should also know that animals use resources from forests to make their homes, and that animals have specific adaptations that allow them to live in different habitats. And the adaptations ties into the characteristics aspect of this lesson plan. Charades, students should already know some basic knowledge about the animals. So this is an activity that should take place either midway through the lesson or towards the end as a review game. If they do not know anything about the animals, then it does not work out very well, as we found out when we attempted it. Also, this activity does require a little bit of prep depending on the student's level of understanding of the material so far. It may be valuable to have some guides, like the Sibley's Bird Guide. And being a fishery and wildlife major, I'm starting to collect these. Eastern Forests, one that I got when I was at University of Maine. Mammals of North America, the Pearson Field Guides. If you have any interest in animals, this is a really good one. And for Maine, even though this is predominantly about animals and animal habitats, the Maine Forestry Service publishes an actual guidebook called Forest Trees in Maine. It's very affordable for teachers. That actually just talks about all the trees in Maine and gives descriptions. And this may be useful, especially if students really get interested in the forest habitat, for them to identify maybe, what trees a woodpecker may prefer, or what trees make up the forest that they're in, to help them further make connections to the animals in the habitat that they're in. I'll actually put these down here. So, ideally, the student should have a pretty good knowledge already of the animals and their habitats and their characteristics. And some animals that I would suggest using would of course be like the white-tailed deer, the eastern gray squirrel, the eastern chipmunk, blue jays, black-capped chickadees. If you happen to be in northern Maine, or even actually in the area that I'm in, I'm on the coast of Maine, so we don't get as many moose, but definitely moose or black bear. So certainly you can adapt the list to what's in your local area or what you want to focus on, or to adapt it to student interests. So for whatever animals you're studying, having some photos of the animals, whether you have the guidebooks or you have laminated photos, would be really great to help students quickly reference if they happen to forget what an animal looks like, especially for younger ages that may not have as much focus. They need to have that photographic reference point when they're playing the game. And ideally, every student should be able to act out a different animal. And you should also have a method of choosing the order that students will be playing in, whether it's the names in the hat method that a lot of teachers use, or popsicle sticks with names on them. And also a clear space where students could sit in a circle and be able to see everyone around the circle. So either in the classroom or in a gym, just in a little bit of space in the center for students to be acting out the animals. So of course you have the students sit in a circle, make sure there's enough space for them to be acting out the animals, and choose which student will go first. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. And the student that is the animal does not talk. Depending on the classes and the age groups, you may want to encourage them to make animal noises if an animal does make a particular noise, like the black-capped chickadee. Ideally, it should be a little more of a quieter game, because we all know how kids can sort of get out of hand sometimes with animal noises. So they do not talk, they don't give any verbal hints. They have to act out their animal and act out their characteristics, or give clues about its characteristics. Other students will take turns guessing what the animal is, and when the student guesses correctly, either that student may go next or the teacher may draw another name in whatever method they've chosen. And you continue until all the animals have been used or all the students have been able to go. So there are some questions that you can ask during, or this can also answer some questions for the students. What characteristics do animals that live in forest have? And how do these characteristics help them survive in forest? This can be a segue into that discussion. How do these animals behave and why might they behave this way? And again, you have the actual first part of the question there answered during the game, but then you can further the discussion later on. So in conclusion, this activity could be adapted for a range of age groups, but because it's focused on the role-playing aspect of education and focused on keeping the kids active, it is best for the pre-operational stage. And I did specifically choose to develop it to focus on its adaptability, and also to try to keep it pretty simple in terms of what is needed, as teachers and homeschoolers often don't have access to a lot of resources. So things like the laminated photos can easily be found online. The guidebooks are pretty easy to pick up secondhand on Amazon or brand new on Amazon for a pretty reasonable price. And even local libraries, at least all of our local libraries here around where I live, carry these guidebooks as well. So pretty easy to get the materials and to set up the game and to keep it simple but still really engage the children. I want to thank you for bearing with me through the chaos and for watching this presentation, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the term.